Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and trim up a backstrap, and I'm going to show you how I do this. I used to take a backstrap and clean it all up and cut it into steaks, or I would butterfly steaks, which is when you cut all the way through, then your next cut is almost all the way through, followed by another cut all the way through, and then you open it up like a butterfly. And I can show you that here in a minute, but generally I don't do that anymore. I like to keep the backstrap into 3 pieces. I cut it essentially into thirds after I get it trimmed up, and that allows me to cook them whole as roasts, which keeps a lot of the moisture in. And I've also found that when whole muscle is kept in a roast form in the freezer, it keeps much longer because you're exposing less surface area. But what I really want to show you is how I approach this large layer of silver skin that runs the length of the backstrap. So you'll notice on this end down by the hip, it's really thick in here, and what I like to do is come in here again with a really sharp knife, and I like to just find that edge using the tip of the knife. You can get right down into that inside layer and just kind of work that back a little bit at this end. And I like to free up kind of a flap on the end here. Work on this and I'll show you. What we're going to do is we're going to run the knife down along the inside of this, but we're going to flip it over to do it. I'm going to get started here and just open this up the length of that knife. Okay, so I've created this flap here, and what this is going to do is it's going to give us something to hold on to. So I'm going to flip this over just like this, and you're going to take your knife and you're going to lay it down on the inside of that silver skin. Now this is pretty thick at this end, but it does thin out. So knife angle and technique here is kind of important so you don't cut through that. So what you're going to do is, again, get this kind of started like this. And what I like to do is just hold the knife at about a, I don't know, maybe a 15-20 degree angle. You want to have enough downward angle on it so that you're riding right along that silver skin. Then you're just going to get this positioned where I can run my knife efficiently here. And you're just going to run this down kind of in a slicing motion. And what you're going to end up with is all of that silver skin, most of it comes off really clean. And then all you need to do is come under here with your knife and kind of feather off these remaining strips. And this just gives you a really nice roast, gives you a nice clean surface. Like I said, then you come in here and just kind of trim up these little pieces that you weren't able to get. And the other thing you can do, say you end up with a lot of meat left on here, these strips are pretty durable. You can run your knife down these, clean them up, take all this edible meat off of here and put it right into your burger pile. So there's no reason to waste that. I'll finish trimming this up in a few, just to spare you the time here. And then what I'm going to do, like I said, is I'm going to take this thing into about thirds. So I'm going to come in about right here. I'm just going to go ahead and cut that off. And you'll notice on a backstrap there's another seam that runs along here. And you can split that out if you want. I found that generally I don't on deer. On elk it's a much larger strip of meat, and it kind of gives you the main backstrap and then sort of a mini one that you can create medallions out of. So, but again, on deer I won't do that. I typically do what I'm going to do right here, which is just clean up a little bit more on that and call it good for that particular section. Then I'm going to do the same thing 2 more times. and come in here, and I'll get to that in a minute. Take my next third, come through it, and this is that other piece I was talking about. So you can go ahead and take this off. It's another little partition there, or a seam. You can take that right off, trim that up much like I did the first time. Just gonna skin that right off of there. Do this a couple different directions and you can get all of this edible meat without too much problem. And again, it helps to have a really sharp knife when you're doing this, so you can just kind of skin that off there. So this will all go in my grind pile. Then I'm going to come in here and once again just trim up these little silver skin layers. And then what you end up with is a really nice clean roast that is going to be really tender, really easy to chew. You're not going to have a lot of this silver skin or gristle involved. So let me show you real quick what I do, what I was talking about with butterflying. So say you've got your backstrap here, and like I said, I go whole on this whole thing. I'm just going to go ahead and wrap these up whole and freeze them. Then when I thaw them out, I will steak them, or sometimes I cook them whole, marinate them, put a meat thermometer in the end, and cook them that way. But if you wanted to butterfly, what you do is decide how thick a steak you want, and you can come in here and you cut almost all the way to the bottom, then come over one more time and then cut all the way through. And what this gives you is a nice, makes your steak a little bit bigger in a butterfly like that. And you can do the same thing with your tenderloins, especially on elk. I don't do that on deer because they're so small, but that's what a butterfly is, and that's typically done on loins. So that's that. I'm going to trim that up. I'm going to show you kind of how I trim this up. Now up toward the neck, I tend to run these up pretty far. You know, some people cut their back straps a little bit on the short side, and I like to run all the way up into the base of the neck so that I can maximize that. This meat is actually quite tender all the way up. You do have to get rid of some of this heavy tendon up at the top and some of this membrane, but this is going to clean up real nice and give us a really nice roast. I don't get too much of this. This will all mostly cook out, this lighter weight stuff, but I will trim this. Come in here and get some of this silver skin right in here, and again, sharp knife, just feather it out. You can get all of this off pretty easily, pretty quickly. So there we go. We've got essentially 3 roasts. Again, I kind of sacrificed one chunk here to show you how to butterfly. I'm going to wrap those up just like that. Do a little bit more trimming here before I'm done. Clean up some of this, add to my burger pile, and that's it. Backstraps are wonderful. This is basically the chop. You know, if you could leave these in with the rib cage, you can have a bone-in chop, much like a tomahawk steak, that sort of thing. I prefer just to make roasts like this, cook them whole, marinate them, cook them whole, and then slice them to serve. So there you go. Hope that was helpful. Let me know if you have any questions.